What's it like out there in the midst of a primary in the time of coronavirus?
It's happening eventually. Things got off to a very slow start here in Chicago this morning. Record low in-person turnout the first 2 hours as folks tried to figure out where they could show up and vote. They had to close hundreds of precincts around the city today because judges didn't show up. They bailed earlier in the week or this morning. Some private businesses said they didn't want elections to be held on their property. Some nursing homes, senior centers, places and the like said they simply couldn't host because of the health concerns. So after that slow start, things have been picking up here a little bit today. But I think the number one accessory in Chicago this spring is gloves. I've talked to a number of voters who told me they brought their own gloves to wear when they were voting so that they didn't have to touch any equipment here. They're not entirely trusting of the health and safety measures that have been put in place in polling places like this one. And I can tell you those health and safety measures are spotty at best. This particular polling place that I'm at now, the judges here told me they were given one big bottle of hand sanitizer to let folks use and some wipes to clean off the machines. Folks are taking it upon themselves to keep distance from those in front of them or behind them in line. There was simply no time to train or equip the judges here for handling a public health crisis on top of an election that up until this crisis was going to have record turnout. All the early vote numbers here were way, way up in Chicago and in Cook County. I suspect when the votes are counted today, we will see the day of numbers way, way down.
Garrett, I ask you just one thing very bluntly here, which is, have you seen anything in the course of your day there that has alarmed you in terms of either crowds, people crowded together at polling places, or in terms of the precautions that are being taken to try to make sure that equipment is clean? Are there any horror stories you can tell, or do you think things are actually being handled relatively well within the context of plans that have been made up pretty much on the fly?
From what I have personally seen, I would say relatively well within the context. I've seen more people than would be recommended to be in any other public space in closed spaces together for probably longer than is necessary. It's kind of a long ballot in Illinois. You can see all the signs behind me. This isn't the kind of thing where you just come in and mark one ballot for presidential preference and walk out. It's not ideal, but I haven't seen anything yet that has me truly alarmed. I guess if that's the standard we're operating under these days.
Yeah. Mike Memoli, I want to ask you, I'm going to talk to both you and Shaq here, but let's start with you. The Biden campaign was looking forward to a very big day today, a day where had Ohio still been voting, they were looking at potentially 4 victories in 4 very big states, adding to their delegate lead over Senator Sanders, and potentially even kind of bringing the race to an effective close. How are they thinking about the vote today now under these circumstances?
Well, John, I mean, we could use all sorts of sweeping language about how unprecedented this situation is, how we're in uncharted territory. The fact of the matter is it's just weird. I'm a campaign reporter who you and I, we should be in a hotel ballroom somewhere in Ohio tonight preparing to cover an election night where, as you indicate, the Biden campaign was hoping to effectively declare this race over. They did release a memo today from Kate Bedingfield, the deputy campaign manager, making really 2 points. One is that the results, as Garrett indicated, in terms of early vote and vote by mail are strong enough that we should see these results tonight as reflective of the will of the voters in those states. Right. And the second point being that obviously they were expecting a good night, as you say, that barring some sort of unprecedented swing here in the late days, that Joe Biden was going to keep his delegate lead and potentially even build an insurmountable lead over Bernie Sanders. And so they feel like, as Kate Bedingfield also points out, this country has voted during the Civil War, it has voted during the pandemic in 1918, and that this is going to be something that we continue to see going forward, where we should have confidence in the results. But they're also taking their cues somewhat from Bernie Sanders, who potentially may not be in the position to do what we might have expected, which is begin to wind down his campaign at this point.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.